Honestly, I was pretty excited for this movie going into it. It's directed by Gabriella Cowperwaite. I might be butchering the last name, and I am so sorry if I am. Stars Ariana Debose and has a really interesting plot of, just Russia and America are going to war on Earth. So now the Russians and Americans at the International Space Station need to fight to take control of it, and just sort of the fallout of that. It seems just so interesting to me, and I was really excited for this film actually, and I woke up to it and I was like, oh my god, I finally get to see I.S.S. The trailer looked pretty decent. Yeah, I was just kind of all in and really optimistic going into this film. So it really pains me to tell all of you that this movie is honestly a pretty big disappointment, at least in my opinion. I felt like it got the ball rolling a little too slowly. I feel like we spent a good 20 minutes hearing about a lot of just sort of not really important information at the start of this film. I guess that it wanted us to get to like these characters a bit more and just connect to them a bit more, but I found the acting and dialogue to all just fall flat, in my opinion. Then once we actually got to the meat of the story, where the US told the American people to take over the ISS and the Russians told the Russian people to take over the ISS, I was actually back to being relatively invested in this film, and I was like, oh, look, it's gonna get more interesting. But then it just began escalating to a point where I completely lost belief in this film, and that is pretty disappointing. I was just like believing that all of this could happen, but then it just escalates to this point where I'm like, there's just no way. This all just seems totally unrealistic, to the point where I was just completely taken out of the film and began actually laughing at certain parts of the conclusion because of just how ridiculous they felt. And by the end of this film experience, I was just like, all right, that is one of the movies of all time, one of the space movies of all time, but definitely not on the spectrum of one of the best, not even close. This is probably my least favorite movie of the year so far. I've only seen 8 2024 movies, but still, I guess that kind of says something. Out of everything too, I kind of expected that Ariana Debose would at least have a decent performance, but no. Her performance honestly also fell flat. I think part of that had to do with the fact that the dialogue just wasn't too great. Something I've seen a lot of people say really good things about are the visual effects of this movie, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I didn't really see it. I was looking at all the visual effects scenes and I was just like, this feels like an iPhone app ad, that kind of quality of effects. I don't know, maybe that's just me being really, really nitpicky, but I felt like this movie was trying to do too much for what obviously was a really small budget, and it just didn't really land for me. I could even tell just with a lot of these camera angles, when they are out in space, they do these really weird shots where the camera is really close to people. I don't really know why the camera would be so close to somebody in such an awkward angle, unless it was just to hide the blue screen to make the visual effects artists do less work, because you don't have that big of a budget on this film. That just kind of felt like the only reason why they would be doing that, and I get it. It's kind of, you gotta do what you gotta do to make the best with the money that you have, but if you don't have a lot of money, then just don't make the film in the first place. At least that's kind of where I am coming from in my beliefs with this movie, but I don't know, maybe all of you think differently. The one thing that I did really like with this film was the score. I thought the score actually kind of slapped at certain points, and even when there were those scenes that were completely unrealistic to me, I was at least just bopping my seat to the score. At least I had that going for this movie. But yeah, really, aside from the score, I just don't have a lot of good things to say about this film, and that's sad. That is really sad to me. I thought that this was going to be a lot more enjoyable than it was, and if you do like this film, that's awesome. I really hope that you go and actually watch this film and give it a chance, because I might be wrong and you might really like it. Please don't just completely trust my opinion here. I do still recommend this movie. And with that being said, though, I personally am giving this movie 2 stars. But what about all of you? Have you seen I.S.S. yet? What were your thoughts on the movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to do that. Go for it. I'll see you all in the next review or just regular video. I don't know. Take care.